Good morning and welcome to Second Sunday. I am Jessica Alstrom, and every second Sunday of the month I tune in live with you guys and give you kind of an energy ascension update on what is going on in the world and, energetically within our personal lives, and kind of help you navigate and make sense of your scientific and spiritual journey that you're on. So first, if you're new to me, you're hearing my voice for the first time, again, my name is Jessica Alstrom, and I am the creator of Transcendence International Consciousness Academy, which is an international, basically, university of spiritual and scientific development of self. And so what that looks like is I'm all over the world, all virtual, helping people navigate through their personal journeys back to joy, happiness, abundance, and freedom. And if you're not ready for that big fat journey, which is usually about a year long, I have a lot of little subgroups all over Facebook that you can tune into wherever you are and whatever pace you're ready to go at. That is pretty much where you guys are finding yourself right now, which is Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life, and that is the community. This is kind of a free group where I, tap in and channel and give you guys updates and share videos and things like that. And then I have a more accelerated group, which is more hands-on global coaching, and that is where I spend anywhere between 4 and 16 hours a week guiding your group journey as a collective. And I also do mentorships all over the world personally as far as that. So as always, my team here will put all the links for more information on how to find us for whatever level you are. As you guys are joining me, please give me a shout out of where you are in the world so I can give you a big hello and welcome you. Very exciting month. It started off a little rough. February was a little bit of a buzzkill. And I'll go into the reasons about that, but we're in really exciting times, and so I've decided to take the opportunity to use the second Sunday to teach more scientifically this month. Most of us have been on our spiritual journeys for a really long time, and we study hard and we work deeply with ourselves, and we are starting to navigate this thing called virtual reality of planet Earth, and we're trying to see and hear and feel and be and have and love. And really what I want to do using this time of the month is to really kind of go into the inner workings and the inner space. So we're going to go quantum today. And quantum physics is by far the best way for me to navigate this thing that we're playing here, and it's a game. So I'm in my game gear today, and I'm representing Kansas City, which is our soccer team here. And the reason why is because our team here at Transcendence has been working with the team themselves, the Major League Sporting team of soccer here, and we have been able to, with their team, integrate a meditation system. And this meditation system is basically, it's a brain re-entrainment system that teaches the brain basically how to move past that 10% and move into unlimited possibilities. Your brain is a supercomputer, and what it is filled with depends on who you believe you are, where you've been, what you've experienced, your genetics, and that's pretty much the sum of what your brain communicates to your body, and that's the life that shows up, because your body is the projector of your reality. Your whole entire biochemical system is creating and projecting your reality. So how that works is however you've been in your life dictates what you're going to see outside of yourself. So as we go quantum, what we want to look at ourselves is we want to look at ourselves as these two big pieces of focus. We are this yin and yang of ourselves. We are this masculine and we are this feminine energy. And as we move into this collective expansion that we're all going through, we're navigating back to ourselves, which means that our masculine and feminine are no longer at war with themselves, and they're moving back together into this wholeness. And if you've been following me for the past, 5-7 years, this is what I teach. I teach this quantum mechanics because basically what it is you are focused imagination and you are living a projected reality based on what you believe about yourself. Not what other people believe about you, but what you believe about yourself. All the way to the deepest parts of yourself is what shows up around you. And because this universe is holographic, it is also reflective. So you've probably heard the term by now, law of attraction. But we're going to talk about law of reflection today as far as where where we're moving as a collective. And what I'm teaching my academy and in my mentorships and in my coaching divisions, it is all about personal responsibility of the deepest parts of reflection. Now, in my world, I like to keep quantum theory down to about a 4th grade level. So I, take the subdivisions of ourselves, and we call it the me, myself, and I. There's a conscious version of you that is your cheerleader, your visionary, your go-getter, your driven aspect of yourself, your champ, your enlightened one, your motivation. And then there's a part of you that's below the surface, and we call that the subconscious. And that's basically your blueprint of everything that's ever happened to you or anything that you've ever witnessed. So that is your recording of basically all of the apps and programs and information that is stored within your biochemical field of imagination. And then there's a little bit deeper version of you way, way, way below the surface, and we call that the unconscious. And the unconscious is basically where all of the data from the rest of the universe is stored within you, where you've been, who you are, how you're fractaled in a billion different pieces all at once, your greatest gifts, your greatest sorrows, your greatest losses, your greatest loves, all reside within these 3 aspects of yourself. And really what this ascension process is nothing more than you falling in love with all 3 of those aspects. It's about you running away from the parts, it's not about running away from the parts of you that are imperfect or dark or stubborn or lost or brokenhearted. It's about turning in the direction of those things right now and moving towards them with your arms wide open. Because it really is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. Money can't make you happy. Another person can't make you happy. Nothing can make you happy. It can instantly, but for the long term, what it does is it just reflects more of your unhappiness, because everything is a reflection back to the true parts of who you are. So I want to talk a little bit about astrology just for a minute, because I think although astrology is really just an awesome tool and roadmap, and that's really all it should be for you, because your navigation should come from your direct intuition, astrology serves a really huge purpose for us when we're navigating in unclear, unknown waters. And this full moon that we had, March has 2 full moons. And whenever we have a full moon, what it does is it springboards and basically pulls from the deepest parts of you how you really feel. So if you're like really easygoing and charming on the surface, and you let things slide off your back, around the full moon is when you'll notice that you can't really lay low. All those things are going to really trigger up and fire inside of you. And the reason why, quantumly, is because we are electromagnetic energy that's pressurized. And we are in the flow with hydration on this beautiful planet that we live. And so when that energy contracts from the moon herself, then we contract and expand just like a spring. And so we move in for the new moon, and we set intentions, and then we expand and we basically let go and surrender. So whatever we're trying to manage with control or manipulation or focus, all usually comes out during those full moon processes. And those are the pieces in my work that I tell people to really pay attention to, because it's the things that you're hiding from yourself that contain the biggest pieces of magic. Because we are heading as a species, as we are moving back to a magical place where our imagination actually manifests our reality in quick time, not in a long time. We're moving out of density as a collective. And so as we moved into this full moon, and I definitely had my own very unique experience with this full moon. I was really high vibing right before, this year started off with gangbusters, really accomplishing all of my dreams personally. I'm watching other light workers stand up and be courageous and tell their story and create, businesses for themselves. The whole idea is you're here to get paid to be yourself. And you're here to be abundant and deserving just by showing up. That's really what you're doing here, is you're here to show the world how just your presence alone, the light within you, is the most abundant thing in the universe. You are the most abundant thing in the universe. And so when we look at ourselves in any other way, we create a reality that fits the way that we're seeing ourselves. So this full moon, which I lovingly named the sorrow moon, what it did was it went into the deepest, deepest, deepest parts of our unconscious. And because it was in this kind of deep Pisces energy, which is deep and watery, it pulled from our unconscious huge amounts of sorrow and loss. You know, I've heard clients this last couple of weeks tell me that they felt suicidal, they felt deep, deep loss. They've lost people these last couple of weeks. And what that's doing is it's bringing us down below the subconscious into the unconscious so we can face that face in the mirror, and we can look at sorrow, and we can look at loss, and we can look at transformation in a different way. Because basically we've spent our entire lives taught not to look at our feelings, not to do anything about them, to suppress them, be strong, you know, be tough. And most light workers have had to play very androgynous roles on the planet, because what we do is we find ourselves alone. So we've had to be both men and women in our relationships. We've had to be both men and women in our jobs. And we find ourselves having to live this very androgynous lifestyle as light workers, because really that is the only way to make it work, is to become those both sides of yourself. So this sorrow moon, basically what it did was it reached down into the depths of who you're really missing in your life, who you've really lost. And at the core of that broken heart, is right underneath, there is a sorrow that when you actually let it flow, it sets you free. Because fear is the only thing that keeps you from manifesting any dream and goal that you ever could imagine. And fear is an elevator emotion, which means that it's covering up something. You're not afraid of fear. You're afraid of something, and you're using fear as a basically frequency to hide yourself from something. So when you use fear, right, which is a stop, a freeze, a lack of motivation, a lack of trust, a lack of safety, a lack of knowing yourself, you don't feel seen and heard, all of these things start to surface. If you would just go deeper down into that and say, if I'm afraid, then what am I really sad about? What am I really sad about? And I just did an activation in our group, in our Quantum Life group last week, and it was 3 words that just transformed everyone and sent everyone into a deep sorrow. And you're probably listening saying, why on earth would I want to be sad? And the truth about that is, until you're sad, until you move into that place of sorrow, then you will not find the gift that's underneath that. Because basically, energetically, you know, fear is how we are controlled. When you're afraid, you are easily manipulated, you settle, you don't trust, but you do what you think you have to do to survive in that moment. But if you can get below fear, if you've ever been in deep sorrow, and I've watched several people in my community, in my close family, lose something extremely large in their lives in the last 30 days, and I've watched them go into a sorrow that basically set them free of all judgment. It set them free of all fear. It set them free of so many burdens that they were holding on to. Because, you know, when you think about it, when you're in deep, 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 deep sorrow, no one can control you. And you know what? You don't even care if they try. You're at total peace. Ultimately, quantumly, when you are in the deepest parts of surrender. So a little backstory in the universe, right? As you all know by now, the future is the divine feminine. And that doesn't mean that it's a woman's world now. What I mean by that when I say that is divine feminine is the nurturing, is the learning, is the community, is the connection, it's the expansion, it's the visualization, and it's the womb of life. It is where creation happens. And through that love and that unconditional frequency of the divine feminine, the universe expands. And the masculine side of that frequency is the action side. So it takes both sides of the spectrum to create anything in the universe. But at the same time, when basically we split away from source energy and the Big Bang happened, and you know, we wanted to know ourselves as the light, you know, and the only way to know yourself as the light is to put yourself into darkness. The only way to be hungry is, you know, to not have food. The only way to see the stars is to be in the night. And so as we separated from source energy, that was our intention, was to see ourselves as the light. And we split away further and further and further and further and further. We split away so far away from ourselves that we actually fractaled ourselves into pieces, this masculine and this feminine energy. And what we noticed is our life stopped working out so well because we were missing something. Let me ask you right now, at the deepest, deepest soul level that you have in your heart right now, if I gave you an activation point of the words, I miss you, and you sat with that, you would go into a deep sorrow because you are missing a piece of yourself. We think it's, I need a man in my life, I need the perfect job, I need this amount of money, I need this. But what we actually need to do is we need to reconnect with the true aspects of ourselves. If any of you guys have ever seen that quantum experiment where they project the two lights through the frequencies, and it actually is visual and it's real and it's reality, and if it's in two places just like your eyes, but then when there's one, it's all crazy and out of control. And so basically what we're doing is we're looking for the other side of our coin, heads and tails. And we're looking in all the wrong places. We're looking in relationships. We're looking at our body to be a better fit to who we believe we are. We're looking at the house we live in and the cars and the success and all of these things. And what I'm teaching and what other quantum mechanics out there are teaching is that all we have to do is redirect our focus, because we're focused imagination, on where we are missing ourselves. What pieces of ourselves haven't really come back together yet? Because self-love is a concept that you really don't earn until you've loved all of those darkest aspects of yourself, until you've honored them. And it isn't about being afraid. It's about allowing yourself to be sad. You know, for me, I was a single mom for many years, and so I had to get this big, strong backbone, and I had to brush everything off, and I had to show up, and I had to provide, and I had to be there, and I wasn't really in a state of being where I felt safe to express emotions, because I didn't want my kids to think that there was anything wrong, which was the absolute incorrect way to live my life at that moment. But now that I'm teaching this reverse role, what I'm saying is anything that we are keeping a secret from ourselves is keeping us literally in this lack frequency of moving into a very expanded place that the earth is becoming, because the earth herself is evolving. She's coming back to herself. She's remembering who she really is, which is immortal, which is the universe itself. And we always are able to find that in nature. We're able to find that in children, and we're able to find that when we're in love. But all those other moments, we are searching for that. And what we are searching for is we are searching for that other piece of ourselves that can only be found on the journey within. You know, you can get on a plane and you can fly to every different continent on the world and still not be able to find yourself if you're looking for the solution outside of you. The solution is right here at home. And the sorrow that is underneath your human heart is the biggest container of all your gifts. And I've been actually sharing this in class. And the reason why we've stored all of our intuition, our big magical intuition in our sorrow, is because it's the one place that the divine masculine will not look. And isn't that funny that when a woman is sad, usually a man does not know how to react to that. And I know I'm using this metaphorically, but it's really basically frequency. When a woman is sad and crying and sobbing and in total loss, it is the scariest thing for a man who is very strong, masculine energy, who is not in touch with his divine feminine, to actually be able to deal with that. So as a collective, when we knew that we were starting to separate from ourselves, we decided to hide our intuition in the one place that fear would not look. So we hid our intuition in sorrow. And as I look back over my journey, and I look back at when my intuition came in, and you know, I'm a medical intuitive, and I'm clairvoyant, and I'm clairaudio, and I'm clairsentient, and I do remote viewing, and I speak different light languages now, apparently, and I do all of these things. It wasn't because I was a chosen one. It wasn't because I was special. It was because the amount of deep desire to help, and the reflection outside of me of so many people in need of help, activated the sorrow within me and began to release my intuition. So in my academy this year, I'm taking everyone through alchemy training. And what is alchemy? Alchemy is basically turning darkness into light. It is finding the gold within you, but you've got to dig all the way through the dirt. And everything that's happening with astrology right now is helping us see more clearly who we really are. You know, every full moon that expands your ego out so that you can project it forward and see it in others is a divine gift. And the new moon is all about reconfiguring who you are and saying, this is who I am now, and setting a new intention and then acting that out in your divine masculine and supporting it with your divine feminine and showing up in your life. Because as you guys know, light workers, dress rehearsal is over. It's over. We are showing up, and we've had to face some serious critics, which is ourselves. We've had to face judgment. Some of us have lost loved ones over our choices to become more. And we have also had to leave relationships because we cannot become more in those relationships. And so we've had our level of sorrow to deal with just by being an empath on the planet. You know, we've been in touch with what this planet has been going through since the beginning of time, and we're not here to be part of the problem. We're here to be part of the solution, which means is we're here to remember who we are. And when we look at that word, remember, it's to put back together. It is all about putting yourself back together right now. And this sorrow goddess moon was the divine feminine weeping. She was weeping in a state of loss. And she was asking you to find your deepest level of sorrow and release it. Because right behind that, as you know, if you've been following the other spiritual teachers in the world, your intuition is coming this year. It is supposed to be here because we're here to basically help transform and resurrect planet Earth back to heaven on earth. Because the potential that Mother Earth has to expand is she's moving fast and furious. And the ones that are in allowance of that and in surrender, which means when you feel happy, run with it. When you feel sad, experience it. When you feel angry, ask yourself these questions. What's behind my anger? What's really, really going on with me that is causing me to be in a state of frustration? Why am I not motivated? You know, in my training classes, I call those emotions fear personalities. Because right now, you guys, let's just face it, we're in 2018, and we've done a whole lot of work in our evolutionary state, and there are only two emotions left on this planet. And those two emotions are fear or love. And if you are not in love, you are in fear. So when your lack of motivation kicks in, or numbness creeps in, or anger or frustration or annoyance or intolerance or confusion, those are not higher frequencies. That is a direct relationship where you can turn around and ask yourself in the mirror and say, I'm frustrated right now. What am I afraid of? And I can guarantee you, if you sit long enough in front of that mirror and you keep asking that question, all of a sudden, you're going to hear a voice that says, I'm afraid to be the light. I'm afraid to be the light because every time I am the light, I either scare people away, I intimidate people, or I'm judged for it. But this is where I've been taking my group this week, because we are all showing up, we are all turning on the light, is I am giving you guys all the best empathetic tools that I can possibly offer you to be able to stand in your light if you're with the most critical person on the planet or your biggest advocate. And all you have to remember is that when you are a light worker, you are an empath, you are a messenger, you are an indigo child, or whatever you want to call yourself, what you are is you're a reflection of love. That is actually the state of your auric field. You're a frequency of love. So when you walk into a room and you walk into a space where people are not okay with loving themselves, you're going to trigger the shit out of them, to be honest. And the reason why is because you're reflecting back to them what they are not, or what they believe that they are not, because that's the only truth, is what they believe. So when you get that kind of cold shoulder from someone, or you get that judgmental stare, or you get that, someone who's ignoring you, empaths, what we do is we feel that emotion, and then we find that emotion in ourselves, and we energetically shut down. And that is the number one reason why all of you guys want to be alone. Because when you're alone, you're in your own frequency. You're not reflecting back anyone else's lost stories of abandonment, commitment issues, self-esteem, critical energy towards self. And it's funny because my girlfriends and I, we always say this. It is when we are dressed to the nines and we are looking good and when we are feeling good and we go out in public, nobody talks to us. It is literally like we have the plague. And we're all looking at ourselves like, do we smell? Like, what's happening here? And what we realize is the more confident that we are, the more intimidating that is. And light workers are moving into this new level of confidence. And so here we are, we're doing our work, we're building our websites, we're putting ourselves out there, we're becoming certified, we're becoming our true selves. And then we walk in a room and we're not greeted with the love and acceptance and the joy. And we're like, what's happening here? But what's happening is you're walking in and you're basically a mirror for the entire space. So whatever someone is feeling about themselves, they're going to see through you. And your job as a light worker is to hold that mirror lovingly and say, this isn't about how I'm feeling. This is about me reflecting back to you how you feel. And most of us light workers know that we get this a lot. You're so easy to talk to. I feel like I can tell you anything because we are so usually at the basis of who we are. We're very non-judgmental towards other people's journeys. We get it. We understand. We have the empathy. We have the understanding of what it is that people are going through because we can feel it. We can feel it more deeply. But one of the tricks and the techniques that I've been sharing with my groups that I want to share with all of you all around the world is because, and the reason why is because it's time to turn on your light. And if you don't turn on your light, then you will continue to suffer because this planet will move ahead and you will stay in your resistance of whatever you're afraid of. And that's okay, and that's fine. But if you know that when you walk into a room or when you start a broadcast like I'm doing or you write a book, that you're going to be reflecting back the greatest aspects of people and the greatest terrors that they have within themselves because you're a reflective being of light. And light reflects all, right? It's all expansive. So what I've been teaching my group to do and what I want to give you the tools because we're moving into some heavy energy. And this energy is going to be basically all the lights are being turned on. So skeletons are all coming out of the closet. And the way that we're seeing our own skeletons is through other people's reactions, reflections. And then we're taking ownership of that responsibility, the ability to respond. We're moving into our intimate space, into me, I see. And we're doing the work of who we are and what we're needing to be. And our job for others who are unaware of this, even though the planet is waking up, everybody's getting on board. It's funny because spirituality right now is actually in style. It's like very hip to be a vegan. It's very hip to do yoga. And there's a lot of people who are doing it who have no idea really the impact of what they're doing for themselves. They're just jumping on the bandwagon. But you know what? It's an awesome bandwagon to be on. And if that's where you're starting, then that's exactly where you need to be. But as a light worker, we're going to get a lot of backlash. And probably the most backlash we've ever had is from the ones who are supposed to love us the most, our intimate families. So this is how I would love for you guys to show up because this is quantum at its most divine spectrum, is to always understand that what you are focused on, you become. So if you see someone who is intimidated by you or is in judgment of you or is mad at you or says they hate you, any of those frequencies, you have to understand that what they're doing is they're looking at you and they're feeling themselves. They're feeling themselves. And so in TICA, which is what we lovingly call our university, we teach that the humans experience 4 different wounds that they move through life. And those wounds are I am not seen, I am not heard, I am not safe, and I am not loved. So sometimes when you walk in a room, you're triggering that in someone else. someone is not feeling seen and heard around you. You know, maybe you're a beautiful woman or a very strong man, or maybe you just have a very big essence about you. And that can be intimidating for someone who doesn't feel like they're allowed to be that comfortable in their own skin. Maybe you're reflecting some outer part of them that they're resisting. Maybe they're an indigo in disguise and they're not allowing themselves to really step into the light. And as you step into the light, it triggers them what they cannot do. So your only job is to walk in understanding that acceptance is the true definition of unconditional love. If you can just accept where people are and go up to them and give them an open-ended comment of a compliment, what you'll do is you'll change the mirror back to themselves and you'll reflect back to them something that they can achieve. So when someone is so very insecure around you, you just walk up to them and you give them a compliment, a very sincere compliment, not based on the mask that they're wearing. And this is important because people project and they kind of put on this mask to hide what they're feeling underneath. So as an empath, you know what that mask is. You know, arrogance is insecurity, right? Way, 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 way overdone personal experience is I don't really feel that beautiful inside, you know. Someone who's very much hiding doesn't feel, you know, that they can be seen and heard. So if you can give them an open-ended compliment, basically what it'll do is take you out of fear of being around people, which is the number one reason why empaths are not doing more podcasts and writing more books and going on more tours, is because they love the idea of helping people, but they don't like people so much. And they don't like people so much. And it isn't because they don't love people, it is because of the way that people make them feel about themselves. But really what's happening is because you're a reflective object, you're basically creating a mirror for them to see themselves. And so you walk up to them and say, you have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen. Or, you know, wow, the way you handled your kid today was amazing. You give them a very authentic, purified, heart-based compliment, and what it will do is it'll immediately put you into power, and you will stop being the reflection of your own ego, and you will stop being the reflection of their ego, and you will actually begin to be the reflection of their higher self. And it might be from one tiny compliment that you give someone that may activate them into their own awakening. Because people are walking around in self-judgment and they're not getting the memo that all they have to do is look within the deepest parts of themselves, accept the sorrow, the loss, the pain, the suffering, and the belief systems that you were programmed with your first 7 years of life, and say, who am I without this fear? Who am I without this story? Who am I without this pain? Who am I without this body problem? Who am I without this lack of money? And it's very interesting when you ask Spirit open-ended questions, you get answers. And those answers are coming quick. But you've got to be present in order to recognize what those answers actually are. And these moon cycles that are hitting us, 2 full moons again this month, one is opening up the pain and one is going to burn all of it purified. So it's going to balance it out. So with the first moon, it came in and it was the big sorrow moon. And some of you are probably feeling lethargic, you know, some things that are kind of pulling at your heartstrings. What I'm recommending is just go with it. Turn on some sad music and cry it out, because, you know, I always say tears are 1% hydration and 99% feelings. And so when you can actually allow that experience to come through you, and you can deal with grief in any form that you want, it purifies your cellular body. And here's where we're going to get really quantum, because, you know, scientifically, I have been working in this field for so many years, and that I have seen so many different bodies, and I have worked with so many colleagues on this planet, that I want to share a little example of just how amazing the body is for a minute. You know, the body is designed to heal itself. The body will heal itself as long as the body is being told to heal. If the body is being told to still be in pain, or still be afraid, or still be small, or still be not good enough, or still be unworthy, the body will basically mimic that frequency, because you are your body. Your body is the biography of your mind. So let's look at 2 different examples here quantumly. I have witnessed intuitively someone basically being hit full blown by, I don't know what kind of vehicle it was, but let's just say a Mack truck to just make extra huge stories here. And they've broken almost every single bone in their body. Okay? And immediately they went to the hospital, which was a frequency of heal, and they were basically in the route to being healed, which means that they broke every bone in their body, but their body was fixable. The team of doctors came in, and the team of surgeons came in, and the family all came in and prayed about it, and that body rehabilitated, okay? Because on physical impact, when a cell dies, it is reborn instantly. It is reborn. Now, when a cell has emotional trauma, right? Let's look at the getting hit by the Mack truck and look at what was actually created behind the service of being hit by the truck. A whole army of people came in to heal that body, and you had that knowing, I'm supposed to be here, and you lived through it. Now let's take an abused child. Let's take the same situation, same impact on the nervous system. Let's take a child who was not seen or heard or loved or saved, or ridiculed or abandoned or neglected or abused or condemned for who they were. And let's look at how that impacts the cellular body. Because that cell does not die. What that cell does is it takes on the frequency of the pain, which is, I am not worthy. I am not good enough. So the cells in your body actually mimic the pain because there is no intention for rebirth. So basically what happens is your cells in your body become that abused child. They become that abandonment. They become that commitment issue. They become that neglect. They become those things, and then what they do is they regenerate and regenerate and regenerate, and they tell the whole universe that story because you're electromagnetic energy. So whatever cell's story is communicating is reflecting back to you. And if you notice, when a child is neglected, you might get an apology, but you don't have a team of nurses and doctors around you and people praying for you. You know, think about the last time you got ridiculed or judged or degraded or, abandoned. There wasn't, there was a non-physical team around you, but nothing that you physically witnessed that came to your aid. So instead, you became the pain. You became the pain, which means it is actually better, healthier, physically to get hit by a Mack truck and break every bone in your physical body than it is to be humiliated. Because taking on the vibration of humiliation will stop you in your life's tracks. It will cause you to settle everywhere you go because you will not turn on your light. Because basically what your body story is telling you is that I am one who is humiliated. I am one who is not safe. I have been abused, so that means I will continue to be abused. So many people say, oh, I've been studying spirituality for 20 years and I just can't manifest the money. And I said, well, let's look at that story. You're someone who can't have what they want. And your cells are literally telling the universe with every breath, that's who you are. So when we study quantum mechanics, we realize that we have to change our cellular structure in order to change our reality. Because it is that macro and that micro of the universe. And I need the cells of my body to be telling the story that my heart wants to tell in order for me to be on the same page as the me, myself, and I. The me, myself, and I, the conscious self, the unconscious self, the subconscious self, all reflecting back one voice. What that leads to is pure manifestation instead of bittersweet manifestation. Because when you have three collectives within you that are bigger than life, telling three different stories. And these three different stories are I want, I'm afraid, and I have lost. And so you've got three stories that are communicating to the universe, and law of attraction is showing up perfectly for you. So you get the opportunities and you lose the opportunities. You get the opportunity, but you're too afraid to move forward from the opportunity. This is law of attraction in action. And if you looked at your reflection around you, because your spiritual teacher is not your guru. Your guru is your life that's happening in front of you. About a month ago, I realized that personally, that it was time for me to save to go into some really, really, really sad places within my heart. And it scared me because, you know, when you totally surrender to your tough girl's, personality, and you let yourself go into vulnerability, you ask yourself, well, who am I going to be after this? Am I going to be that wimp that's going to cry all the time now? Am I going to be, a crybaby? And I thought, you know what, I really might lose myself if I really, really let go. But I was looking at my manifestations in my reality, and I realized that I wasn't a match to the things that I wanted the most. I wasn't a match to the love of my life. I wasn't a match to how my career was unfolding and the way that my family was showing up to me and the way that I was showing up to my family. And so I said, I'm at that point, and the full moon graciously opened and the sorrow came through, and basically within about 30 days, I have almost had every single relationship repair itself and move back into the cycle of love. So it had nothing to do with me taking action. It was all about taking the physical action of going into the deepest parts of myself and surrendering the loss and the true stories that my cells were carrying. Because you know what? I was the abused kid. I was that kid that wasn't allowed to be myself and feel my feelings. I had to be on guard constantly throughout my life. So, of course, no matter how much spiritual training I take or how many PhDs I go for, at the end of the day, my reality is going to manifest exactly that story that my cells are telling. And that's all we ever have to do. I had a great mentor student ask me yesterday, she said, I don't really feel like my purpose is to go save the world. She said, I don't really feel like my purpose is to go feed the homeless. She says, is it bad of me if I just want to go lay on the beach? If I just want a pile of money and I just want to go be happy? And I looked at her and I said, that is your only job. Because we are all connected. And so when we give ourselves the freedom and the purpose to just be yourself, how you be yourself doesn't really matter to the universe. It's just being yourself. We are not here as doing beings. We are human beings. We are here to be. And the more authentic you get, and the more you allow your purpose to be your purpose, whether it's just to lay on the beach and be happy, then what you're doing collectively, because we're all connected, every heart is telepathically connected to every other heart. You're giving permission to the rest of this planet that it is okay to just be you. You've lived through enough. We've suffered enough. We don't have to keep suffering. By all means, you are the creator of your reality, and we have something called free will. So if you want that experience, you will get that experience. And if you don't want that experience, you will get that experience, because there's only one answer in the universe, and it is always yes. So you have to look at the story that your cells are telling you. And right now, astrology is letting us navigate through what we will not allow to coming to the surface. So whatever is coming to the surface right now, what is ever showing up in your reality, is the perfect reflection of where the deepest parts of your state of being are and need to be healed. And as we move into this new energy that's coming in, we've got a big whammy this month energetically. So we've got this full moon that we had on the 2nd. Then we move into a new moon, which is all about intention and kind of like dusting it off and wiping the tears. And it's all perfect reflection of the rain that brings the spring flowers. Well, guess what? You are the bud. And it is your time to open up and be a beautiful flower. A flower doesn't care whether it's beautiful. It doesn't care what the flower next to it looks like. It just wants to bloom. And this is what is inside of your DNA right now, asking, I want to bloom. I want to bloom. It's my time to bloom. And that's all we have to do, is allow that rain to come in, those storms to come in, and not destroy our lives, but purify them, clean them up. And as we move into this new moon on the 17th, really think about, who am I without? Every new moon we're like, okay, this is who I'm going to be, and this is what I'm going to do this month. How about this month, looking at that reverse reflection and saying, who am I without my fear? Who am I without my judgment? Who am I without my limits? Who am I without all of these things in my life that are holding me back? And then what you're going to get is an answer that may bring you to your knees, or it may make you put on a cape and jump off of a building. You never know what state of being you're really in because you're wearing a mask. You're wearing a mask to be strong for your kids and to be strong at work and keep going. And it's time basically to let the universe take over and start managing and directing your joy. And your job is to basically take care of you. You are the mother and the father of yourself. You've got to tend to your owies and your wounds. No one's going to do it for you. Basically, when you have a wound, what you're going to do is you're going to attract someone who's going to point it out. That's what actually happens. And that's when we go, oh, wow, that person just really triggered me. So I pull in and I reflect back and I look at my wounds and I go, wow, this happened when I was 7 years old. And I take reflection on that and I take personal responsibility on that, because studying the spiritual journey is over. It's time to become it. It's time to walk it. It's time to live it. The body actually doesn't move into knowing how to do anything cellularly, subconsciously, until it has acted it out. When your body acts out something, it begins to change the story of what the cells believe about you. But taking 16 different workshops, of spiritual enhancement a year and doing nothing with the data actually makes your life worse, because you now know too much and you're not being able to live the unlimited immortality that is sitting in your DNA, because we are moving towards immortality with the potential of our DNA. At the root of our being, we are crystalline energy. We are not carbon. We are carbon, but we are moving away from that into crystalline. And crystalline is both non-physical and physical, which means we get the best of both worlds. We get to be completely divinely abundant, but we also get to be human, which means we get to feel. Believe it or not, that's something that most empaths resist. Oh, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. But that's really why you came. You wanted to taste the chocolate. You wanted to see the rainbows. You wanted to cry at the sunsets. You wanted to fall in love. You wanted to get your heart broken, because it was going to lead you back to your truth, which is you are all of those things wrapped into one. And then on the 22nd, we move into the lovely Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is not a bad thing. It just is all about electromagnetic energy and stirring up your life, which is exactly what needs to happen. In order for soup to taste good, all of the ingredients need to be mixed up. And that's what Mercury retrograde does, is it stirs the pot. It stirs the pot of you. And that will go all the way into April 15th. That will give you plenty of time to sort through all of that. But what I want to do is quantumly give you the fast track, the cheat codes, and the manipulation techniques to basically be able to ride as a surfer instead of getting caught in the riptide. And my only advice to you is surrender to what's happening and take full responsibility that you are creating that. And you're not creating it in this now moment. Your body created it somewhere down in your timeline, and you're still acting out that limitation, right? So how do we rehabilitate, an abused being? And abuse comes in all forms of way. I'm not talking about, well, you could say, well, my childhood really wasn't that bad. If you really sat with it and you weren't allowed to be 1,000% authentic, and you didn't have opportunities to grow and move and change and be more of yourself, then you shrank yourself in those first 7 years, and you're still acting that out in your now moment. So it is in the now moment where I want you to take stock of who you are with your time, who you are with your money, who you are in your relationships, and who you are when you look in the mirror at your personal reflection of self. What judgments, what limitations, what obstructions, what shadows come to the surface. I want you to sit with those and say, who am I without this? Who am I without this? Because all those things that happen to you are nothing more than apps running in at the biological point of your quantum computer telling you who you are. And basically, instead of the body going into this big transformation and healing from, getting hit by the Mack truck, the body stays damaged. Because the abuse continues, because basically any time you have anything that shocks your nervous system, it freezes you in that moment. So most people who have endured some sort of abuse or neglect or humiliation or lack of love have frozen themselves in that time, because we are all still children. And we stay basically frozen in time until we go back to those moments and we change the data in those cells to heal. Which means you need to be that group of doctors and that group of nurses and that group of imaginary family that sits around you and says, you're going to get through this, you're going to heal this, and I'm going to help you. And this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to take physical actions, and we're going to do physical therapy, which is be in nature and be around people who you care about, and do guided meditations and all these things, because meditation is just about getting to know the true parts of yourself. It is about having a conversation with yourself. That's what meditation is. And the only way you will truly know yourself is if you surrender everything around you and you get enough stillness inside of you to finally listen to what the voices are saying. But it's so easy to know what the voices are saying because you are a reflective being, and so you're manifesting in your reality the exact shadows that you need to clear in how that coworker treated you yesterday, or someone emptying out your bank account. So you just look at that and say, wow, I'm in lack somewhere, and I am playing the character quantumly now of someone who is in lack. Therefore, no matter how hard you work in your physical universe, you will never get ahead until you change that story. And we are on the fast track. The universe is helping. The astrology is helping. The purge is happening. You can't fight it. You can't resist it. It's happening to you, for you, through you, because of you. We're all moving into expansion at our own time and our own will and our own place. And, just knowing that we're making such a big impact, getting something as mainstream like Major League Sports to not just train in a gym, but use a meditation system to enhance their truest potential. Because basically your brain is the universe itself in matter, which means that your brain has the capability to be completely unlimited and not only change your biochemistry, but change your reality outside of you, because electromagnetic energy and electricity actually create form. And that's what you've heard forever, the New Age, is thoughts and feelings to create your reality. But if you're not honoring your true thoughts and feelings about who you really believe you are, then you're going to have a mishmash and an imbalance of your manifestations of your reality. So we're moving into, at the end of the month, this final kind of, we have 2 full moons this month on the 31st, and it's going to be in Libra. And Libra is all about balance. It's about the purge. When you push a string, or when you push a spring, all the way closed, at some point it's going to snap. And I will tell you that basically March 2nd was the snap point. And then we got a little release on the 7th, and we're moving back into some of that kind of more dense energy. But it is so important that you allow yourself to just be in it. You be in the storm and don't resist it. Because every storm you resist just means you've got to go and face the storm next month in a bigger, louder way, because moving into a 5th dimensional planet means instant manifestation. It also means bigger reflections. It means that the shadows are coming to light faster, which is a gift. It's all an amazing gift. For us to be able to transform who we believe we are into who we could be and our truest, unlimited, unknowing potential that is quantum itself. Because unlimited possibilities, unlimited parallel realities, unlimited amounts of soulmates, unlimited amounts of abundance, unlimited amounts of freedom, that's what you came for. You didn't come to, read about it and remember it and then not do anything and not doing anything for it. So everything that's happening right now universally is just guiding us. So the astrology we're using as a guide. The retrograde's going to stir the pot. The full moon's going to help balance us out. The spring flowers are going to come. The light workers are taking center stage. And then as the new ones begin to wake up, because it's a life cycle. It's like people take the stage, then people cross over, and then new people wake up. And so this world is really ready to be serviced by you. And your story is so important. Believe it or not, the darkest parts of your life impact the greatest amount of people. And the reason why is because they see you as a survivor. They see you as someone who lived through something, and then it gives them the confidence that if you did it, that they could do it too. So we're in really, really divine times. And when I say it's important to purge, the reason why is because underneath the purge is all of your spiritual gifts. All of your clairvoyance, your clairaudio, your clairsentient, your telepathic energy, your ability to transform energy, your ability to manifest beyond your wildest dreams lies in the cavern where you're too afraid to look. So as the universe helps you purify this, you'll notice that you're all becoming more psychic, you're all becoming more intuitive, you're becoming more sensitive, and maybe that's triggering you a little bit, but that's okay because it's going to help you just really unlock that potential for yourself. So this is a very, very, very important month, and it is a very important month to allow yourself, whatever it is you believe your purpose is, for it to be okay for you. You're not here to maybe save the world the way that someone else is. You're not here to stand up in front of everyone like I do every week. You're here to be you. And you're here to be the happiest, freest, healthiest, most loving version of you. And that is what is going to change the world. So, do we have any questions? Suze?
A gentleman asked, you keep talking about the divine energy. How do men go about working the divine energy?
Okay, good question. The question is I keep talking about the divine feminine energy and how do men go about working in this divine feminine energy. When I talk about masculine and feminine energy, and I'm not talking about the structure that you're looking in the mirror. I'm not talking about your gender. I'm talking about your energy. So if you find yourself a man, and you're on this journey, if you're on this journey, you have actually accessed your divine feminine in order for you to even look inside. Because the divine masculine at its root is very robotic. It is all about action, adventure, rescuing, and creating. It isn't about looking within. That's why when a woman is crying, it scares the hell out of a man, because now I have to ask her what's happening, and she might be sad, and if she's sad, then she's going to make me sad, and I'm going to have to feel that, and I don't have to look at that. And it goes against everything that the masculine has been trained to be. It goes against, don't feel that, don't say that, don't cry. Men are not allowed to do these things early on, those first 7 years, and so they program themselves to lock their divine feminine deep within them. It's amazing, but if we looked at the categories of heart attacks, it is always 85% men who have heart attacks versus women. And the reason why is because it's the heart not being able to open up. The heart can't open up to itself, which is, the heart is the divine feminine. So a man that is embarking his journey, it is the same coding that I would give the advice to any woman out there is look at how you really feel underneath the surface. Because everything's a hologram, which means you're never really upset for the reasons you think. The circumstances of your life are really not actually what's upsetting you. It's the projection of what's underneath. So masculine energy who are going forth and they're ready to accept this responsibility of this divine feminine, the only thing you have to do is ask yourself the same questions is, how do I really feel about this? Who am I without this? Who am I without this strength? Who am I without this job? Who am I without this knowing? And that's the vulnerability part. So it isn't about gender, it's about energy. And it's about understanding that on the surface, when I teach, I'm bringing forth a lot more of my masculine energy than I am my divine feminine. And so it's about balancing that within you. If you're really shut down, you've got to go in, sit with yourself. Don't go find a relationship or go get a better paying job. Sit with yourself and say, who is this person underneath this energy? I will tell you, though, that the divine masculine is also on the rise to transform and balance its divine feminine energy, and that happened in February 11th. All over the universe, this activation happened where the masculine now is going to be free to move into their true state of balance. And it's funny because for so long, I was like, I just need a man to show up to help me with this and this and this and this. And it was almost like it was programmed within me. And then when I went into a deep meditation and I met a gender neutral kind of energy, this being said to me, they're waiting for you. They don't know how to do it. They're waiting for you to do it. You've got to be the example. Not that there is any righteousness in divine feminine over masculine, but if you've chosen a masculine body this incarnation, you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper And you're going to have to open up yourself a little more, and you're going to have to feel safe to do that. And even in my mentorships over the last 3 months, we've had so many more men jump on board, and they are going fast and furious. So it isn't about being divine feminine. It is about being your true, authentic self, because you're two sides of the coin. But if you're always trying to be the head, right, you're missing out on the tail, and the tail is the fun part. Sorry, I had to go there. So is there any other questions? Barbara?
What role does astrology play in the spiritual journey?
So Barbara asked, what role does astrology play in this spiritual journey? To me, astrology is a guide. It's just a guide. It's an access point. It's almost like when you get lost in the woods, you pull out that map and go, okay, this is where we are. This is who I am. Because at the basis of you, you're a quantum-focused imagination, which means you actually don't have any personality. You are just this unique species of divine light. And so what we do is when we incarnate, we go, okay, I got to pick a personality type. I got to pick a navigation point. I got to pick a North Star here so that I can figure out how to play this game called virtual reality in this holographic universe. And that's basically what astrology is. It's your holographic blueprint that helps you navigate through personality aspects, adventures, openings, closings. So it is literally like when you're playing a video game and you have a map. So that is how astrology is used for. I don't use astrology a lot in my teaching, and the reason why is because I really teach people how to access their inner GPS system, which is just moment by moment by moment by moment presence of being in the moment and saying, how do I feel right now? You know, and it's not about, well, I'm a Gemini, so I'm not compatible with this person. You see how there's rules there? You see how there's limitations there? That's not quantum. So we use astrology until we remember, put ourselves back together, who we really are, and then we make up the rules. We say, I feel like going this way. I feel like going this way. And so we stop becoming the roadmap, and we start becoming the road. We start becoming life itself. So that's a really important question, because astrology is very important until it's not important. We'll need it until we don't need it, but for right now, everything, mentors and guides and teachers and books and lectures and triggers and nemesises and astrology and anything that you could possibly use to pinpoint where you are in your physical reality helps you know what vibrational alignment you are in. What state of being you are in dictates your physical reality. So if you're limited outside of you, you believe you're limited. If you can't grasp what you want, it is because you are not allowing yourself to do that. And that is the basis of what we're teaching in the Academy, of how to look as deeply as possible and take the most personal responsibility and basically transcend the energy that we're putting out and being totally out of blame, shame, humiliation, and guilt, and moving back into ownership of the game, because it's a pretty cool game. It's a pretty cool game. And, you know, I was studying a little bit about soccer this morning because I'm totally clueless. And, you know, here we are representing our major league team here in Kansas City. And I studied just for a few seconds the psychology of soccer. And I thought, wow, that team has to be so connected to be on that field and just feel and know what this whole entire, there's no goal that happens without the team. And it's everybody doing a tiny, 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 tiny little part until, bam, that goal is scored. And I thought, well, that's just light workers in action. You know, it is all about this kind of fluid, empathic connection for us to be able to be a community again. And the reason why I'm talking so much about going inside and really like unlocking yourself is because we don't know how to be communities yet until we know who we are. We don't know how to live in families in peace. We don't know how to be in companies together when the very aspect of people trigger the deepest parts of ourselves because we're afraid to look at ourselves. So if you're wanting to expand your life right now, it isn't about getting a big loan and starting a business. It is about sitting down and going, where do I feel limited? Who am I without? What am I afraid of? What am I sad about? And going on that journey, letting that energy purge, let those cells transform, and then let those things come to you. Because what you seek is seeking you. And if you're running towards something that is not running towards you, it isn't for you. It is not for you. It is something that now I'm chasing what I want, and it sounds a lot like childhood. So being present to your physical reality is so important right now, because the shifts and changes are not happening to you. They're happening for you. Okay? Anyone, last question?
That your people watching the video can use the device.
Yes. So obviously we were talking about this meditation system, which is basically brain re-entrainment. And I talk a lot about how most people are only accessing about 10% of their brain, and how we can really bring this to the next level. And this device, Susie over there, she will be putting the link for this particular system that we use in this feed, and you can try it for 30 days. But I will tell you a little bit about how powerful this is basically the universe itself is made up of sound. And just the sound of my voice, the sound of music, any sound transforms energy. So what this device does is it moves into a specific frequency designed to unlock potential, or to heal something, or to shift something within your brain. Because your brain is plastic, but your brain is a collection of who you've been. So if you want to rewire your brain, you're going to have to do that through some sort of meditation, action, development, personal development. You're going to have to take action to change the way your brain's been hardwired at that moment of trauma. And what this device does is it uses both sound and light, which sound transforms energy and light is information. Light is photons. So that is giving your brain, it's changing the frequency, and then it's putting a new set of information in your brain so that your cells can now get a different story about who you are. So we're able to access the whole aspect of the brain and move us into basically human geniuses, by just transforming what the brain believes we are about ourselves, and then rerouting neural pathways. Because neural pathways are basically the freeways of information that you carry in your brain that tell your body who you are, and then your body keeps creating those cells of who you are. So if you're someone who was taught to hate themselves as a child, you have autoimmune disease. If you are taught to be unsafe in your childhood, you're still unsafe in your life. No matter how hard you worked, no matter how much spiritual journeys you've been on, no matter how much ayahuasca you've taken, until you show up and actually become the change that you wish to see within your life and take physical action, right? And move into those spaces, your life will just keep repeating patterns, because it's all about just quantum pattern creating and shifting. And it's just time for us to take full responsibility of that. So yeah, you can get access to that. It's just an app you use on your phone. The part that Susie will list, obviously there's a device that comes with it. We'll also post a picture of the team actually using it, which is pretty awesome. And we're getting feedback from the team to see how the performance is going with the guys. They travel all over the world, so it also helps with change in locations and jet lag and just all those effects that just being an empath we live every single day with. So is there any other questions that I can answer before we wrap for today? Okay. Well, again, it's all about the future is feminine, and that does not mean that men cannot be men. It means feminine divine energy is creator. It is the aspect of birthing what it is that you want to experience in your life, and taking action in that to balance your masculine and feminine, and walk in your bliss and become your joy, and take responsibility for, the trauma that you did not ask for, but you are still living. So that is your responsibility. You didn't ask for this trauma at age 2, but it happened. Maybe your dad just left home, and now you've got that part of you that's missing. It doesn't need to be getting hit by a Mack truck, believe it or not. That's healthier. So we're all on an emotional journey. This is an emotional planet, and you're in relationship to every single thing you have. Your greatest mirrors are always right in front of you. Your time, your money, your health, and your relationships. Look to your shadows. Go into your feelings. Let go, surrender, and be free to be your true, authentic self. So thank you for joining me this month. And all of my class is probably like, we already heard all of this. But for anyone who's not in my class,
Thank you.
I do this every month, and you can find, if you like this information or resonated at any point, I've got over 300 videos on YouTube, and my website, www.jessicaalstrom.com. You can find me blabbing my mouth all over that place, and we are always building and changing and growing. We are creating certifications all over the world. We are in several different countries, and we are working as a family unit, learning how to be a real community globally. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see most of you guys in class.